Hey guys, welcome to Pre-Algebra. Hope you're doing well today. And it's time to learn some more about these inequalities. So I see that about most of you guys did the quiz, 6-5 lesson quiz. Some of you didn't read the directions and said, please do part 2 after you do part 1. So guess what? You're late on the 6-5 lesson quiz. Read the directions better next time. All right, otherwise you're going to lose points. And some of you guys didn't do too well on your quiz. For those of you that got not so great, you can redo it today. Some of you got 0% correct. That's just unacceptable, okay? You need to do a better job. You need to ask me some questions. You can't just sit there at your houses and just, go through the motions here. You need to want to learn this stuff. This is important stuff here. If you're not going to do well the rest of this year, you're not going to go on to algebra. And if you don't go on to algebra, well, it's good luck when it comes to finding a good job somewhere. So you definitely need to learn this stuff, okay? No rhyme or reason why you should get a 0% if you are watching my videos and, trying to learn this stuff. Take good notes, on the videos as I'm going through them. That would be helpful. Also, I asked you guys to remind me to put my notes on there from the video yesterday, but it didn't get on there because, well, I didn't get reminded to put them on there, I guess. Anyways, I'll try to put today's notes on there. Let's go over the quiz and do a little quick recap of everything here. So one of the key questions in this lesson is, when do I flip the inequality sign? You just have to remember two things. You flip it when you rewrite it so the variable is on the left side. So if you go from 2 greater than x and you want to make it so the variable is on the left side, you would make it x less than 2. All right? The other time you flip it is when you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative. Okay, and the key is both sides of the inequality. Okay, not just when there's a negative in the problem, but when you have like negative 4x greater than 16 and you need to solve it by dividing by negative 4. Okay, then you divide the other side by negative 4 and that would cause it to flip. All right, so if it was 4x is greater than negative 16, no flip in this case, because the negative is on the other side, and to solve this one, you would divide by positive 4, okay? So this would be a no flip case, all right? And you don't flip when you're adding or subtracting either, or multiplying and dividing both sides by a positive. So this is a very important thing to make sure you keep straight and, look back at when you're confused. Other thing that might be tricky is graphing inequalities. Do I use an open dot or do I use a closed dot? Well, this kind of breaks it down. If it's less than or greater than, you're not including the point, so you want to put a hole at that point, which is an open dot. If it's equal to, it has the line underneath it. That means it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So you fill in that dot because you're actually including that point. All right. And then which way do you shade? Well, you shade towards the directions that would make the inequality true. Okay, so you want to shade the numbers that would work for the variable. Say if we had x is less than 2, okay, you would shade to numbers less than 2. So you would shade left on the number line. Okay, you can kind of think of it as an arrow. So less than, you see how that's like pointing towards the left. But this is only for when the variable is on the left, okay? So you can't go by the arrow all the time. It's only from when the variable, is on the left side. Okay, for x is greater than 3, okay, shade to the right. And if the variable was on the right side, well, just flip it so the variable's on the left side. But remember, when you flip it, you gotta flip your inequality. So like if it was 4 greater than x, I wouldn't graph that at first. I would make it x is less than 4, and then I would graph x is less than 4, okay? Let's look at the quiz problems here. Okay, so first one, negative 6w is less than 21. Okay, so think about what you would do to get the variable by itself. Okay, so you would want to undo the multiplication of negative 6, so you would divide by negative 6 because you want to get it equal to positive 1w. So negative divided by negative is a positive 1. You would divide the other side by a negative 6 as well. And since go back to the rules here, let's see, do I flip in this case? Multiply or divide both sides by a negative. So yes, you would flip in this case here, okay? So w would be then greater than, you have to figure out what that would be. It would be negative 3. You'd have 3 remainder out of 6, so it's negative 3.5. Okay? And then, so, think, do I shade? Okay, open or close dot. Okay, since it doesn't include negative 3.5, it's not greater than or equal to, it's an open dot. All right, so you're looking at these answers. This is the one that is shaded to the right. So letter B is correct in this case. Okay. All right, so let's see. Drag to symbol. So to complete this inequality, they actually already went ahead and solved it for you. They have, how do you actually solve this? You multiply both sides by 2.2. 6 times 2.2 is 13.2, okay? But the thing with this one is that the variable is on the right initially. But in the answer here, they have it on the left. Okay, so to compensate for that, since they switched the direction, or switched the side of the variable, you have to switch the direction of the inequality, okay? Now, greater than or equal to becomes less than or equal to, okay? You never lose the equal to part, okay? You just switch the direction of the inequality in this case. All right, let's look at this next one. Okay, in this one, so, the variable is written on the right side, and you see the answers have the variable on the left side. So what I would do first is just rewrite it so that the variable would be on the correct side as the answer. Okay, so we got negative 8/3 y is greater than 4/3. Okay, so remember, if you switch the side of the variable, you have to change the direction of the inequality symbol. Okay, less than becomes greater than. All right, now to get rid of a fraction times a variable, we've done a few of these now. You have to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so the reciprocal of negative 8/3 is negative 3/8. Okay, and that will cancel out the 8s. It will cancel out the 3s. Okay, so you multiply both sides by the same thing, as you always do when you're solving an equation and an inequality. All right, so you're multiplying by negative 3/8. Now, do you flip this one or not? Well, we already flipped it when we rewrote it, okay? But in this particular case, you need to flip it back again because you're multiplying both sides by a negative. So this one's a double flip, okay? Double flip, okay? So now, actually, to solve this, you could cancel out these 3's, and you'd have negative 4/8. And if you reduce negative 4/8, you get negative 1/2. Okay? So, hope that helps with that one. All right, so this is Flipperama questionnaire here. Is the symbol reversed when you isolate each inequality? Okay, so the question is asking you, when you isolate the inequality, do you reverse the symbol? Okay, so for this first one, if I am isolating the variable, okay, I don't necessarily need to flip it first. Instead, I could just divide by 3 first. Okay, now you could do what I did on the last problem and flip it first if you want to, but this is not saying to make sure the variable is on the left. It's just saying when you isolate the variable. And you can isolate the variable without flipping it so the variable is on the left. Okay, so that would cancel out the 3's. So do you have to flip in this one? No, you could actually isolate the variable without flipping. Would you have to flip in this one? You're multiplying both sides by a positive 6. Since you're multiplying both sides by a positive 6, no, you don't flip in that one. Okay, this one, you're dividing by a negative 4.5. Since you're dividing both sides by a negative, yes, you would flip it. Okay, and then this last one, it's very similar to the one we just did. Okay, you need to, get rid of that negative fraction with the variable So you would multiply by the reciprocal, and yes, you would definitely have to flip it. And this would actually be a double flip case here, because if you want to get the d on the left, it would be a double flip case. Okay, so in the end it would be d less than or equal to. But that's because you would flip it to put the variable on the left, then you would flip it back when you multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is negative 2/5 in this case. All right. The last problem here. Okay, so Roberto has a bunch of money. He's buying video games that cost $25.50 each. Write and solve an inequality. Find the number of games G. Okay, so G is the number of games. Each game is $25.50. So remember, the keyword each means to multiply. Okay, so $25.50 G. Now, which inequality would you use here? Well, he doesn't have more than $200 to spend. Okay, so whatever he spends has to be less than or equal to $200. So this is the inequality that you would solve to find the answer here. So you would divide both sides by $25.50. Okay. Now, if you think these numbers are really hard to divide, you can use a calculator. But you're going to get a decimal. Okay. Now you can't buy a decimal of a game. I'm not sure exactly what this was. It was 7.8 roughly. So can he buy 8 games? No, he wouldn't have enough money. Okay, so at most, how many games could he buy? It is 7 games at most. All right. Anyways, I hope that helped you today here a little bit. Really, you're just trying to get the letter by itself, and you have to keep track of when do you flip it or when I don't. And just look at this here. If you still aren't sure, ask me, shoot me an email, send me some questions. Okay, let's do one more example problem to make sure you guys got it, and that'll be it for the day. Okay, so we're going to just do a not too bad one. I don't think 12 is less than x over negative 2. Okay, 12 is less than x over negative 2. So, think about this for a second. Do I flip or do I not flip this one? Well, there's 2 different ways you could go about doing this one. The first thing you could do is first isolate the variable. All right, so you're going to multiply both sides by negative 2 to cancel off the negative 2. Okay, when you multiply both sides by negative 2, you are multiplying both sides by a negative, so you're going to flip it, and you'll have negative 24 is now greater than x. Now the answers might not have negative 24 is greater than x. Instead, they might have x is less than negative 24. Okay, that would be the easier way to graph it. And so let's actually think about graphing it for a second. So if you had to graph this one, would you do an open or closed circle? Well, it's less than, so I would not want to include negative 24. So you'd have an open circle there at negative 24. Okay, so I mean, this is a real crude graph. Just put a number left of negative 24, such as negative 25, and you'd think, which numbers are less than negative 24? Is it right or is it left? Well, less than is always left on the number line, so you would shade this way. Okay, now if you wanted to, you could have rewrote the equation first with the variable on the left. So x is greater than x over negative 2 is greater than 12. And then when you solve this one, you just flip it back again. You're multiplying by negative 2 on both sides as well. Okay, so it's basically, you just switch the order of those 2 steps and you get to the same answer. Okay, and you graph it just the same way. So hope that helps, and wish you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Please don't be a stranger. Send me an email. Let me know when you're having some issues, and we'll get through this together. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.